So on this case, these RICO cases that you're involved in, one of them, there are other special counsel in addition to Mr. Wade?
Yes. So there's two other, on this case particularly, there's a lady named Anna Cross and a gentleman named John Floyd. And John Floyd has worked with the DA's office for many years. I actually was involved in another RICO case year before this one, which luckily my client resolved his case, so I'm no longer involved in. But that case, John Floyd had also helped craft the indictment. And, he's sort of known as a go-to person for racketeering cases, so the district attorney would regularly call on him to help in drafting indictment. Anytime we would file what's called a demur, which is a motion to quash an indictment, he would usually be the one that came and argued it. And then Anna Cross was also hired, and she really focused on the work in federal court. And both of those sort of make sense to me because Fulton County prosecutors they're not necessarily barred in federal court. It's not something that would be required for your job. When I was a public defender in Fulton County, I wasn't barred in federal court. I had no need to. I wouldn't have paid the dues, wouldn't have done that. So, it's not something that would be required for their job, but Ms. Cross is experienced in that. So she was hired sort of as a subject matter expert to litigate some of the federal removal issues in this case.
Did those two individuals have contracts with the DA's office as well?
They have had contracts historically. They do not currently have contracts.
Yeah.
It's very odd.
Did you review their billings?
I did. I reviewed their billings. Stark contrast. So Mr. Floyd, for example, he was only paid at a rate of $150 an hour. And
Same case.
And he
more experience and expertise in RICO cases.
I mean, everybody would agree. I think that John Floyd is one of the preeminent experts on RICO. Yeah. I believe he testified in front of the Georgia legislature when RICO was passed.
Did he have to submit itemized invoices?
He did, and his were very different. His were significantly reduced, and the big difference was he billed for the time that he was working on the case, not necessarily like 8 hours for team meetings and
things like that.
Do you have
itemized billings?
Very much so,
and
yes.
What increments did he bill in?
I might have some of his contracts with me, but it was either 10 or 15 minute increments. And so did Anna Cross. Now, Anna Cross was paid $250 an hour. Anna Cross is very well-known, very experienced, appellate, federal lawyer, does a lot of complex litigation. She was a DA for many years, handled a lot of high-profile cases for the district attorney's office. I mean, I know her back from when, we did death penalty work in Cobb County together 15 years ago. And then she went to DeKalb County and prosecuted a number of high-profile cases there, but just very well-known. And her bills were also submitted, but they were the same rate. They were $250 an hour, but they were much lower bills, not anywhere near the bills that Mr. Wade did.
Do you know how much Anna Cross has received during the course of this criminal prosecutions or
I'm not sure.
Investigations?
I might. Let's see.
Okay. You said Mr. Wade had about $700,000 so far?
Yeah. Oh, Miss Cross was under $100,000, I believe.
All right. So if she's under $100,000, what about Mr. Floyd?
Mr. Floyd, much lower, even lower than Anna Cross. He has not billed in a while, so I've subpoenaed, or not subpoenaed, I did subpoena, but I also did open records for all of his bills. We've not been provided anything recently from him, so I'm not sure if he actually did bill, because his contract said you have to submit the bill within a certain amount of time. So I'm not really sure. They stopped responding to my open records requests, but when they did respond, they were very, very limited, very small bills.
Okay. And your open records request was to whom? The Fulton County government, the commission, or the DA's office?
I did them to all of them, and once especially that they stopped responding to them. So they have a portal, and if you go to the DA's office and you click open records, it takes you to the Fulton County portal. So if you try to submit it to the DA's office, it necessarily goes to a portal for the entire county. So you have to submit it through those. So that's where I would submit it. You can designate, I think this is the DA, I think this is budget, things like that. So I would be over-inclusive just to make sure that I wasn't missing somebody. But every single time they would route it to the DA's office. So I would get a response that said it's been routed to the DA's office and, we're waiting on the response. There were one or two that I got from the county that didn't appear to be routed to the DA's office.
Right. And so who's refusing to produce these records to you?
The letter came from Dexter Bonds at the DA's office.
And
Dexter
that's
Bond.
why you filed a lawsuit against the DA's office to force them to comply with open records?
Yes.
Okay, that's still pending?
It is still pending.
Fulton County Superior Court?
It's Fulton County Superior Court. It's assigned to Judge Krause, I believe, and the county attorney contacted us and says they're going to be responding. So the county attorney is actually defending that lawsuit.
All right. And so they're telling you they're going to respond to the case or respond to the request now? You're waiting to
I believe
see.
the case. I haven't received any documents, so.
Fairly recent filing you filed there, or that lawsuit?
Yeah, so we filed it in January, and then they had a little shutdown in Fulton County where nothing was able to be file stamped. Our process server couldn't serve it until it was file stamped, and the Odyssey, the e-file system in Fulton County was hacked, and so it was shut down for a while. So it took us a little bit of time to get a file stamped copy back, but it's now been served. But it was filed on January 30th.
Of 2024?
2024.
Okay.
And I have a copy, which
I don't have that.
I-
If you would provide us with
Happy
that, then
to.
we'll give it to the Secretary of the Senate as a supplemental response to the subpoena.
I'm happy to. This is a clean copy.
Okay?
Yes, so you all can.
So what's the relevance
this.
to you? Why did you seek these billing records of these attorneys?
I wanted to compare the different billing, the different styles of billing. Also, there had been an allegation that I was singling out Mr. Wade, and so I thought it was relevant to see the rates that the other attorneys were paid, their billing, what type of billing, if they billed for everything. Just for example, when we're in court, one of the prosecutors may be arguing, Mr. Floyd and Ms. Cross aren't there billing, but Mr. Wade is always there. So that was one thing that I noticed, and I understand now that their response is that he sort of is like a case manager almost, so I guess that would be why he's always there, but I wanted to compare them and see.